difference. So I've got 4.5 pounds of clay, and I just have a few tools. Got my wire, needle tool, a ruler. I've got a little trim tool.
Whatever that is.
This is an angle trimming tool, which is really nice for when, especially when you make plates to cut under the bottom as you throw. And then instead of using a regular wooden stick, I don't know what they're called. I've used these so long, I use a half a clothespin. Any questions before we get started? Teresa? No? Okay.
You said that's 4.5 pounds, right?
4.5. Yeah, I think it was just a little bit under. And when I make sets, a lot of times you can see here, I've made a set, and I was doing, I think I was making goblet. So the goblet height and width was here, and the stem was this tall. And then I made patens or plates for a religious ceremony. And so I just use a regular wooden ruler. You can use calipers, but I find for making sets, this is probably the easiest. When I center, I think about my forearms. I brace my legs like I'm riding a horse. I brace my legs against the splash pan, and then I brace my elbows against my legs. And so that I don't hurt my back and my neck, I think about my forearms, and I really tense my forearms, and that saves, I think, my back, for those of you with back problems. I used to, my first teacher had me, Susan Shumpert, she had me cone every piece up and down 3 times before I could make anything. And this clay that it comes in the bag is so nicely pugged, I find I don't have to do that. So I flatten it. I'm making, obviously, plates, so I just want to flatten it down. And everybody centers a little bit differently. I was taught to center bringing my hands in and pushing down like this. But then after a few years, my thumbs started to really hurt. And then I went to throwing or centering with one hand on top and one hand on the side. But I found that I didn't have enough power. And then I went to a workshop and I learned to use my arm, kind of like a mechanical arm. And I look and I go straight across. So I'm pushing across, grab my thumb, and push down.
Well, that's brilliant.
And for me, this gives me so much more power and helps me center. So then I'm going to, because it's wide, I'm going to open this with 2 thumbs. And I'm going to show you, I think I've probably got, well, a little thick, about 1 inch of clay on the bottom. So about 1 inch. Can you see the tip? About 1 inch of clay. I'm learning, I'm always learning. Then I'm going to put my hands on the inside, my fingertips. And what I'm doing here, I'll rinse off my fingers and show you, is I'm putting my dominant hand, I'm right-handed, put my right hand inside here with my fingers. I double up my long middle finger, so these are fairly even, and then I grab right at the edge of my cuticles, and that gives me the power to, I'm all about making it as easy as I can, and I'm going to pull this out until I can get the flat of my hand, the heel of my hand basically, inside here. So now I've gotten it centered, opened, pulled out, and now I'm going to push out. When I learned to make plates, I couldn't find anybody who would teach me. Everybody was like, nah, I don't teach plates. So I went to the library and I got a library book, and it had diagrams, and I taught myself how to make plates. So then I put water on the inside. My left hand is just a guard, just in case this starts to go off center. And I'm going to push right here with the heel of my hand. I'm going to push again, I'm going to push across and out. So I'm going to push down and out. Come back and push again. And I'm pushing fairly hard. After you get it going, it will go all by itself almost. So you want to just be careful and really be attuned to what the clay is doing and how it's moving. So now I've got my base is under here, so you can see it's probably about 10 inches wide underneath here. And then I've already got my rim, and I'm done. No, not really. Not really. I mean, it could be, but if you're done now, the chances of you getting a crack are pretty great. So,
why is that?
Because what you've done is you've centered the clay, opened it, pulled it out, and then all you've done is ask the clay to go out. And so you really need to compress the clay back in to the middle so that you don't get the S cracks. On wide pieces, you get what's called an S crack. It's called an S crack because it looks like an S. So quite often it's just a very shallow S. So this is my blanket, my security blanket. So I just take and I come back in. And I probably do this in my studio when I'm making plates, which I have 2 people in my life getting married next year, so I'm going to make 2 dinner sets for them for next summer. So I will do probably 4 or 5 times. And can you see, Sherry, how that
Yeah.
brings the clay back in? So I've asked the clay to come out, and now I'm just compressing it back in. And then another compression is to take, I love these little mud tools, and what you have to be careful of with a mud tool on a flat piece is what I call the tail, the very edge, because it will, you can see how I just take my ring finger and I pull it up. Because if you don't, it will get caught in there in the center and it will go, and you'll have a nice little divot.
Yeah, it digs it out if you're not careful.
Yeah, we know that.
Yep.
No. How do you know
Familiar with
that?
that.
How do you know
No.
that? Yes. So basically what you want to do is just compress the clay, and then the last thing I'm going to do, because this looks a little too mechanical to me, it looks too flat, and I'm going to come back and go in. And for a long time, I would come in and I'd have a little peak in the middle. And I learned at I have been going to like 2 workshops a year for over 30 some years. And I learned in one workshop that when you come into the middle, instead of stopping right here, go over. Everything with me is 1/3 of an inch. Go over 1/3 of an inch, and if you go over that middle, it will take that little peak and it will get rid of it. Take my left thumb underneath here, and then I'm just going to basically bring this up and out with my left hand. Now, if I were to leave this like it is right now, I would have a pasta bowl, because right now it's like this, and when it dries tomorrow it'll be like this. So I have to take that into consideration. Maybe another little pull, just to make things thicker for some reason after you've been doing this a while. So I'm going to take my 1/2 clothespin, which I use for everything, make a little line here. And that, I like doing that. It's a little frame for the plate. Plus, if you're making a set, you can be off here and there. But if it's got, everybody has that line on it and they have the same glaze, they really look like a set. Now is the time where I would take this angle, and you can take anything. I mean, I used to just, before I got this, I used to just take my clothespin and go under here. What is that wooden tool called? Anybody know that is the long stick? The stick, the wood stick. Yeah, the point stick.
The one
The
with
point stick.
the one with the
Yeah, the
power
stick.
thumb on the other side.
Yeah.
You can use
Wooden
this.
knife.
Yeah, the wooden knife. Yeah, you could use that under there. But I just found this gives a really nice, the angle of this little thing is just really nice. Gives me a nice clean little edge under there, less cleanup. So now I do that, I clean this up. That's one of the things that I had to learn backwards, because then I would drop the rim, and then I would try and clean up under here, and I would mess it up, so. And then I'm right-handed again, so still. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put my left hand under here and just bring this down. And that's the very last thing I do. And I'm gonna bring it down so it's almost, so it's fairly flat. I want it to end up like this, and it will nothing but trying to throw 25 pounds. And for those of you who've heard this story before, the secret was slowing down. I was going like that and trying to center it. I was young, but all you have to really do is slow down. Chest, your arms, and your legs. So my stool, it's really important for this to have it really up close, and you feel like you're part of the wheel, which is really good. And then I'm going to take these off so I don't lose them. And then I just push in like this. And I'm really feeling it more than watching it. And it takes longer. I'm pushing really hard with my left hand. And that's, you can see I'm pushing in like this, but I've already slapped it down. If I just put this down here and then was pulling like this, it would come right off. So you have to do that slapping down. Or I always say there's no rules, but there are some things that make it easier. So. Never guess it's going to be a platter, would you?
I feel that way about everything I wonder what this is.
And when you're doing this, you can feel, I can feel a little bit of air. You can probably see it, so that came off. But I'm going down kind of at an angle, so if there's any air, which there is a lot of air in there, it will come up and out. And I'm really using my shoulders. Is this fun?
Yeah.
I mean, and you could make anything. I mean, you could make a vase, you could make a plate, you could make a bowl. It's just really want to get it centered. And the thing you have to do here is that while you're pushing down, your left hand has to allow it to come out. Otherwise, you're just going to keep it the same the whole time. You're going to be working against yourself.
Yeah, that would have taken me like 20 minutes.
Like in 2
I would
hours.
have been left with this much clay.
I could go home and change my clothes, I guess. Go collect wood this afternoon.
Yeah, go put on clean clothes to collect wood.
Yeah, to collect wood.
At a potter's house, we totally understand getting slimed by clay.
And you're saying that takes a longer time than that could be.
With that much.
Yeah, so 16 pounds of clay, and what you want to do is you want to also think about thickness and proportion. With this much clay, I have to think about this splash pan on this wheel that I have to come up and out, so it's going to be a little, I mean, if I were making on my own wheel, I have an extension for this, for the wheel head. So I
Switch
could
your
put that.
back to the next wheel over and go
That's
without
true, I
splash
could.
pad.
Then I'd have to clean up two wheels.
We'll help you.
I can clean up your wheel.
It's gonna be a big
We'll
house.
help you.
Volunteered.
A big pasta bowl, there you go. For years and years, until just a few years ago, actually, pasta bowls were one of the hardest forms for me to make. I mean, there's always forms. I really don't like making mugs, and so I'm going to make myself make mugs because I really dislike. So, but if my bottom is here, then I can have a nice angle up and out. It's more. I like the style better than coming all the way out here and then up and over, and I'm too lazy to put it over here. It's all the things we have to think about. Poor Barbara, she has to edit this mess.
What about to get it off of the wheel once that plate has been thrown?
Yeah.
With the
she's
bat
got
and
a
everything.
technique.
I have a technique.
Oh.
I've already shown it, but I will happily
I was
show it
like,
again.
Oh, that's a good
And
question.
actually,
though.
this is a good point. So now I'm going to make the hole, and I'm going to make an inverted triangle hole. And the reason that I'm going to go down there and waste a little bit of clay and start out and go down to the bottom is because if there's any air in the middle, it would pop out. If there's any water in there, it will pop out. So I'm going to start here and go down and in. You came all the way from Ottawa for this?
Oh, God, yeah.
That's so nice of you. What I'm trying not to do is I'm trying not to double that over and catch air, which I could still do, but.
So are you making a double rim?
No, it just happened to go that way.
Okay.
I'll try and bring it down and in. I didn't want it, but it happened. Sometimes it happens, so I'll just bring it down and in a little bit. Okay.
Hope you're breathing.
I could feel it. I was like, my shirt's riding up. I'm going to get B-Mix 10 wood on my stomach. There we go. So I tell you what, it's great being a potter because you can still be a little kid and it's okay. It's got a little wobble to it, but so do I. So, depends upon if my sciatica's acting up. Okay. So now I'm going to take this back in and just pull this little ring off. Poor Barbara, she has such a challenge with me. Right, Barbara? Right. The reason I'm coming back in is because I had that double rim and I was afraid that I had gotten air in there. Now I'm going to use my left thumb again, coming up from the bat. Now I'm going to do the compression, start here and come in. And actually with a platter, I would probably do 7 or 8 times just because that's a lot more clay to make sure there's no bubble, there's no air pocket, and that everything, all those little microscopic clay platelets, we want them to align.
Do you ever do that with a rib?
I do at the end.
Oh, you did that.
I
You did
find,
that.
you know what I find, even though I use a sponge,
That's when you went to the ladies' room.
Yeah.
That's not my favorite.
I find that a rib, I don't know, a rib doesn't get the clay to move as much. It compresses it down. It kind of compresses it in one direction. Whereas with my hands, I can take this and I can actually feel the clay moving.
And you can kind of grab a little bit of it and move it.
And you can see the rings that I can bring in. And you'll see when I do the rib,
It's almost like the rib is for the last.
The rib is, yeah, for the last. And then what's really kind of funny is then I will go back over. So you can see, I mean, see how awkward this is. This is very, very thick here.
Right.
So what I'm going to do is, my tool is it's like sticking to me. I'm just going to gently pull some of this away, and that'll give me a finger hold for putting my hands back down in there and pulling it out. And see the lengths I'm willing to go to not to move to another wheel.
Avoidance works really well. I'm sorry.
What? No, no.
No, sorry, teacher.
No, no, no. So, okay, so now I'm going to use my rib, and again, I'm going to hold the tail up. And I guess I do it with my ring finger. So you can see that just presses it mostly down. It compresses it, but I like to compress it two different ways. And then I'll go back over it and put a little bit more life into it, because sometimes when you do the rib, it just kind of makes it blank looking. Maybe a little swirl in the middle. Swirl's easy. I like mine to be a little bit more even though this is probably going to go in the wood kiln. So the first thing you do to make a foot, I'm just going to start with the basics, is where I kind of think, where is the inside of the flat part before the rim. So the rim starts right about here on the inside. Then I'm going to put a decent foot, and then on the inside, I'll put another foot. Okay. So I'm going to draw all this away. It's pretty wet and gumpy, but we can do it. And the lines are there just for guides. I don't always go by the lines. It's like life. You don't want to go by them.
Which tool are you using?
This, I'm not usually my favorite one. I'm using actually a bigger one. This is a Dolan tool. It's one of the Dolans. This is my favorite. I love this thing. This is one tool. And I got used to it, and I probably have 20 of them because I just keep snagging them every time they come in. I was like, oh, I need one of those. But they can be, the Dolan tools are nice because they can be sharpened, and they keep an edge really, really well. The Kempers are nice. I mean, I used Kempers for years, but they're stainless steel, and if you try and sharpen them, they get little pits in them, and they become almost useless after a while. So. Yes. I don't usually mind mess, but sometimes it's just that it's like gummy under here. There's a potter in Canada named Tony Clennell. Anybody know him?
Yeah. Know of them?
I don't know. On the website, is there a thing about the quarter? Did I ever throw one with the quarter? I learned that from him, from one of his videos. You throw a base, and then you've been in one of those classes, haven't you? Yeah. You throw a base, just a flat slab, and then you put a quarter in the very middle, and then you throw 5 more pounds in the middle and center it. You open it up down to the quarter and open it up, and that's your rim. So now I just hit, if you look, you can see there's the thumbtack right there. I hit that. So I know that now my middle, so I didn't worry about my going down because I'm like, oh, I know I'm gonna hit that thumbtack. And I can, yeah, you can hear it and you can feel it.
You're pretty lucky you didn't put it where that second rim was.
I thought about that. That's why that second one was real thin. I'm like, where is that sucker?
So Jordan, we were talking to Jordan about plates and
Uh-huh.
S cracks, and he had another potter told him about when trimming that the very center should be the thinnest part of the plate. So as you
Oh,
trim down,
that's
he
interesting.
always makes that the thinnest point to the point where, like, as you apply pressure in the very center,
can-
it just
you can
starts
get it.
to move.
To move, yeah.
Wow.
And then that allows the drying and the shrinkage, because that's the last
That makes
part of
sense.
the plate to dry.
To dry.
So
That
it
makes
should be the
sense.
thinnest. And
Yeah.
he said ever since he hasn't had a problem with acid.
That's a great idea. Let's try
Yeah,
that.
let's. So I
Let's
thought
try
that
it.
was really interesting because I'd never heard that before.
Yeah.
But it totally
But
makes sense.
It makes
That's
a
when
lot
you're
of
trimming.
sense.
When you're trimming to make that center
This
point.
part, the very center, very thin. It's, yeah, that's,
That's risky, but
Yeah, after you've come this far. Yeah.
yeah, it's risky.
so
it's risky
It's
to
risky,
do.
yeah.
So you
Is that
just have
the
to
tap
do it
right there?
a little bit,
The
a little
tap
bit.
is-
And
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
just
yeah,
like
yeah.
testing
yeah.
where
So-
it just
Yeah,
starts to move,
kinda
and
get-
then you're like,
yeah.
hands off.
So one thing you want to think of when you have a double foot is you don't want that inside foot to be taller, higher than the outside foot,
Right.
which
Good
makes a
point.
lot of sense, you know, because then you got a weeble wobble. So I'm just going to clean it up a little bit. And actually, I would, for a demo, I would. Nice, nice wobble. So just take this and let it run along the outside.
Would you normally do that at this time, or would you do it in the?
Yeah, as soon as I trim it, yeah, I would do that. And then, which way do I want to go? It's kind of a weird one, but, you know, I did that one on the other one, but I didn't use this one. So. Let's see what else we can do. We'll just stuff. I like these a lot. I use these a lot. So, a lot of times I'll mark my plates. Oh, I have a set of plates. I'll show you.
Is that the hot guy at Encika?